Hi everybody, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. Well, here on my left, this is my 1971 Chevy Cheyenne, and this week it turns exactly 50 years old, built at the Flint, Michigan assembly plant. Whereas on my right, we have a 2021 Chevy Silverado, exactly 50 years removed between these two trucks. And today we're going to have a look at not only how they've changed physically, but how the attitudes of truck owners have changed. So when we talk about changes in the last 50 years, the one that screams is cabs. Regular cab, 1971, this is it. This is all there was. 2 doors, bench seat, 3 people maximum. And in fact, there wouldn't be an extended cab until 1973 when Dodge brought out a slightly larger club cab, only about 18 inches. But in 71, this is your option. You and your best friend and a little kid could sit in this truck, and that was about it. So fast forward 50 years, and what we get today is a crew cab. So not 2 doors, 4 doors, and seating for 6 adults.
5 in this truck.
And there's your other door, and lots of room for people and cargo. Now this was consumer driven. This was something that people wanted. But if you want to realize how far this trend has now gone, when I had the idea for this video story, I called General Motors and I said, listen, can you get me a 2021 regular cab, 8-foot bed Silverado, because I want to put them side by side to show off the differences. They searched dealers. They went to the factory and 3 weeks later called me back and said, we can't get one. The only people ordering these things now are fleets, and there is not one in Ontario available for this review. So we had to go with the only thing we got here. And if you want to know about crew cabs, in 2020, 85% of all truck sales were crew cabs, and almost all the rest were extended cabs. Regular cabs, fleet only. Guys who buy 100 at a time for a construction company, and that's about it. And that is one of the key changes in the last 50 years, because we went from this is a work vehicle with 1 or 2 guys in it, and then you owned a car to take your family to church on Sunday. This works Monday to Friday and still goes to church on Sunday, Saturday to the lake with your whole family in it. That's one of the key differences in this entire truck market. This is what people expect now. So let's take a look at the business end of these trucks. And you realize that I'm old because I call it that, the business end. Because in 1971, an 8-foot bed was standard. Now there were 6.5-foot beds, but again, interesting numbers. 8-foot beds outsold 6.5-foot beds by 4 to 1. Now on this 2021 Silverado, we got a 5-foot 8-inch bed. So where did the rest of that space go? Because this truck is actually 2 feet longer than that truck. It's all inside. So I circle back around to attitudes with new truck buyers. What's inside matters to them as much or more than what's going on in the bed. Whereas back in 71, this was a utility machine. It was all about how much stuff you could haul. This was important. Guys would never have dreamed at that time of ordering a truck with a bed as small as this one. So when we're looking at these beds, again, 1971, it's all about simplicity, practicality, and one of those things is getting a bed that was low to the ground. And of course, that's a function of suspension. Nobody really cared at that point about going off-road. That was just something that happened more accidentally than on purpose. So you've actually got a bed here, which you can see, first of all, it's a great place to plop down and then have your lunch with. But this particular bed is low enough that I can step up. Go ahead, try that on a new pickup truck. As we can see here in the 2021 Silverado, I mean, I'm not even going to try. There's no way that I'm getting up here. So Add to that the fact that on this truck bed, and again, I'm going to tell you, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm not touching the bed. I can't actually get my arm over the side here and touch the bed. Whereas on my truck, I can get in here and put my hand palm down flat. So I can touch pretty much all of this bed. Again, because this was the key factor of a truck. If you bought it, this bed was in use all the time. Over here, today, it's surprising how many times these trucks never get anything in the bed, because it's all about the driving experience. And I got no problem with that, because that's what the customer wants. And the truck manufacturers have answered. But it's interesting to see the evolution. I actually think it's kind of cute that the manufacturers have created their own problem, because they built such a high box. So they had to come up with a solution. In this case, they put in a step, which of course you got to get it open. So yes, now I can get up, but now it's a two-step affair. And that tailgate's a hell of a lot cheaper than this thing. While we're at the back here, let me also show off something that we love to talk about, which is spray-in bed liners and the amount of tie downs in the back of the truck. And as far as that goes, the new trucks are far and away better than anything we had back then. As you'll see in a second here, I've actually had to install my own tie downs because there weren't any in this truck bed. So I actually drilled through what these were, these stake posts, and put in something so that I could have them. Now, as far as the bed liner is concerned, this is 1971 bed liner. 4x8 sheet of plywood, 1/2 inch, good one side. First thing you did when you bought a new truck is head up to the lumber yard and get one of these. You could hack the hell out of it, and every 3 or 4 years you'd replace it. So, but mind you, considering the price of plywood today, please don't come to my house and steal my plywood. So at first glance, it's obvious that these two trucks are very different sizes. However, here's what I consider fun. They're both also considered half tons or 1500 series trucks. So they're backed up and lined up at the rear end. Now, if you take a look at the nose, this truck is 2 feet longer. And that is actually the stats. It is 19.3 feet versus 17.3 feet for my 71. And as far as wheelbase is concerned, the wheelbase on the 21 is 20 inches longer. Obviously bigger cab, etc., but just overall, the concept of what we still today call a half ton, jokingly, has grown. This is what we're looking at now. Back in 71, this is what we considered normal. So one of the fun things is, why do we still refer to trucks today as half ton or 3/4 ton? Well, even back in 71, GM put these plates right on the truck, and what you'll see is that the truck itself weighed 4,400 pounds, and the payload was 1,000 pounds or half a ton. So fast forward 50 years, and on this 2021, your curb weight is now right around 5,600 pounds, almost 1,200 pounds more than the 71, but the payload has also gone up. So obviously, the new truck is much taller than the old truck, and one of the real straightforward reasons for that is 22-inch rims versus 15-inch rims. And these were common for a long time, but it appears that today we've fallen in love. Bigger the rim, the happier we are. So let's just talk about towing. First of all, towing today is way more common than it was in 1971. The tow packages that you can get on today's trucks, first of all, they usually come with something standard, and then there's an upper level tow package you can go to, whereas in 1971, there was no standard tow package. As a matter of fact, this truck came with no rear bumper. You'd have to pay extra. This step bumper was an option, and off this bumper I can tow a total of 2,500 pounds, whereas the 2021 Silverado will tow 11,898 pounds. So you could get a special tow package for this, but that actually was big money, and very few people ordered it. So again, in 71, people relied on the bed, whereas today, one of the reasons I think is because these beds keep getting shorter, it's easier to hook a trailer up to haul your big, dirty stuff. So truck engines have always been important, and even back in '71, there were 4 different versions of engines that you could get in the Cheyenne. The most popular, of course, was the 350 small block, which translates into a 5.7 liter V8. Now, when we look at the numbers, this is where you have to suppress a giggle, because my truck came with the optional 4-barrel carburetor and made 250 horsepower, 355 pound-feet of torque. With the regular 2-barrel carb, it only put out 180 horsepower. So the only thing that we can call really equivalent is the 5.3 Chevy today, which is very common, and that equals the 305 cubic inches, and it makes 355 horsepower. Of course, it's fuel injected, 383 pound-feet of torque. And then the other place where this truck is really lacking is it's got a 3-speed automatic transmission. 2021, 10-speed auto. What a difference that makes, particularly when you're running this truck at 100, 120 kilometers an hour, and you keep wishing for it to shift, but it's got nowhere to go. And we got to talk about fuel economy. Everybody always wants to know, what's the fuel economy? So hang on to your hats. 1971, 350 small block, 10 miles per gallon, which equals 23.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Versus the 5.3 today, 19 miles per gallon combined, or 12.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So you tell me the gas engines haven't come a long way. In the early 1970s, manufacturers were realizing that truck owners wanted more luxury, and in the case of Chevy, they brought out the Cheyenne, which was a step above just the plain work C10. And then in mid-71, they brought out another trim level on top of the Cheyenne called a Super 10. So when you take a look at the inside of this truck, this was as good as it gets in 1971. And when you say, well, what did that mean? Well, that meant things like you got a carpet on the floor, you got a headliner rather than just a steel roof, you got a courtesy light inside, that was unusual, a padded dashboard, and most importantly, the lovely MacTac on the glove box. So these are the things that were considered uber luxury as compared to the 2021 High Country that we've got sitting right beside it. So my truck now is strictly a summer cruiser. However, I do use it, and actually I love cleaning brush around the property and then running up to the dump with it because it's so easy. The bed's so big and it's easy to get out. And the guy at the dump keeps losing his mind whenever I come up there going, how could you put that brush in this truck? And I love joking with him and saying, I'm just a poor guy. All I can afford is an old truck. However, past that, every place I go in town, whether it's the gas station or the coffee shop or the hardware store, every day I get guys running up and going, my God, that's such a beautiful truck. Boy, isn't that wonderful. They just don't build them like they used to, eh? To which I always love to reply, yeah, thank God they don't. And they always look confused. And I tell them, you know, this truck, all in all, it's noisy, it's uncomfortable, the seats don't have adjustments, the wheel doesn't have adjustments, I don't have any cruise control, the gas tank is behind the seat, it sloshes, it makes noise. There's so many things in this truck, which, of course, with hindsight, now that I've driven new trucks, I'm like, man, this thing is ancient and barbaric. However, it's something from my youth. My dad had one. I learned how to drive on this. And at the end of the day, I love it. And the weird thing about nostalgia is it makes no sense whatsoever. You love something, you love it. It doesn't have to be smart. And then again, you can't beat the sound of this small boat. Makes me happy. Well, that's it for this one, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this little walk around. It's amazing. Of course, if you're my age, you'll be like, yeah, I remember everything he's talking about. If you're younger, a lot of this stuff is new to you. And all I can say is, man, 50 years went by quick. Maybe one day Steve will be doing one of these retrospectives in 2070. That's it for now. Take care.